You're now listening to MarkWHO42 from the Whoniverse and beyond.
Reading is fun, but I know a lot of you out there don't have a lot of time to spare to read. But you do drive your car to go from place to place, and that's why you should get audiobooks. Audiobooks like the ones they have at Audible. Hi, I'm Mark Baumgarten, host of MarkWHO42. If you are interested in reading fiction, non-fiction, Doctor Who titles, Audible has 180,000 titles, actually more than that, for you to choose from to get your reading done in an auditorial fashion. Go to audibletrial.com/MarkWHO42 and get a free month's membership, and there's a special deal right now where you can get 2 free downloads of audiobooks. And you can download any audiobook that's on their site. So go to audibletrial.com/MarkWHO42 and take advantage of this free offer. If you enjoy your audiobook, you can stay with them and only pay $14.95 a month. You'll get another download, and you'll be, again, a member of them, where you'll be able to get low rates on Audible books. So, once again, go to audibletrial.com/MarkWHO42 and read. Or rather, listen. That's a good Doctor Who phrase. Listen.
Hi there, I'm Jessica Martin. I played Mags in The Greatest Show in the Galaxy for the 7th Doctor series of Doctor Who, and I also provided the voice of the Queen in Voyage of the Damned. You're listening to MarkWHO42. Enjoy.
Welcome to MarkWHO42 here on Krypton Radio. I'm your host, Mark Baumgarten. With me today are...
Iggy Matthews. How's it going, everybody?
Hi, Iggy.
Hi.
How you doing?
Yeah. She's always doing good. Always looking good, too. Yeah.
Lies.
Who are you, miss?
I am Patricia Fryer.
Hi, Patricia. Wow, I have 2 lovely ladies on the show. But now we have to introduce the men. Go ahead, guys.
I'm Worf. Hi, I'm a Klingon.
You're Worf. We have Worf on the show today. And Isaac. Isaac is here to talk to you.
Yes!
Isaac's here. Worf's here. Who else is here?
I am Thanos. I am here to cleanse the universe of infection. I am not evil. I am simply healing the universe. The fact that half the population...
You sound a lot like Severus Snape.
Oh no! So we have the star of the new Avengers movie, Thanos, with us today too. That's good. Who else do we have?
Well, you don't have me. Trish has me. It's Eduardo and Fryer.
I don't want to have you. Believe me. Who are you?
Oh, okay. Trish.
That's awkward.
You're here because Trish is here, and this is Eduardo M. Fryer.
Yeah. I just said it. You cut me off before I was introducing myself.
I cut you off many times.
All right.
We'll do it
All
again.
Right. Yeah.
Welcome to my world, Eddie.
Yeah. See, he cuts me off, and then hurts my feelings. Trish, can you do me a favor and come into the office for a second, give me a hug? I'm gonna cry now.
Why do you build me up?
Oh, you're fine.
Right now.
Baby, just let me down.
We also have Zion of the Heroes. Hi, Zion.
Hello.
Hello. It's a sad day in Whoville because this is our last episode of MarkWHO42 on Krypton Radio. Oh, we'll have another show, one more show, live on April 1st. But...
Or will we?
We will, at 12 noon Eastern Time, 9 a.m. Pacific, and in the UK, they'll get it at 5 o'clock, probably right in time for their Easter supper. So they can listen to MarkWHO42 while having their Easter supper live with our special guest John Davey, which is, I guess, half a week away. But this show is actually going to be very, very good. We call it MarkWHO42, The Greatest Show in the Galaxy, Part 2, because last week on Part 1, we had Dee Dee Sadler, who played Flower Child in The Greatest Show in the Galaxy on Doctor Who. This week, we have Jessica Martin, who played Mags, the punk werewolf, in The Greatest Show in the Galaxy on Classic Doctor Who. So this is going to be a great show, even though it is our last show on Krypton Radio. We hope that all of you have enjoyed the past 250 shows that we have done here on Krypton Radio. You can still find our show. It'll still be up on all the podcast places that you've had it before. It'll still be on Roku, so you can listen to past interviews and past shows of MarkWHO42. And I could go on and on of all these shenanigans, but first, let's go to... MarkWHO42 News with anchor person Iggy Matthews. Iggy, what's going on in the world of Doctor Who and MarkWHO42?
All right. Well, more on the Chris Eccleston stuff. Actor Christopher Eccleston. Okay, he has slowly been opening about why he left Doctor Who after playing the heroic Time Lord for one season. Just a week after telling Guardian that he was supposedly blacklisted by BBC after leaving Doctor Who so early, Eccleston told Radio Times that he left so abruptly because he had a falling out with his immediate superiors on the series, including Doctor Who's then showrunner Russell T Davies. He says, quote, "My relationship with my three immediate superiors of the showrunner, the producer and co-producers broke down irreparably during the first block of filming, and it never recovered." Eccleston also tells Radio Times that they lost trust in me, and I lost faith and trust and belief in them. So the actor also admittedly said that he felt uncomfortable playing such a lighter, more comedic role, which may have also exacerbated on-set tensions. Quote, "Some of my anger about the situation came from my own insecurity," Eccleston added. They employed somebody who was not a natural light comedian. So when Eccleston left, he promised Davey that he wouldn't do anything to damage the show. He also said he never will have a working relationship with Davey again.
Wow.
So,
see, now that's actually interesting, because over the years there have been statements that Christopher had problems with the high-ups at the BBC. This is the first time, I think, that he's laid part of the blame on Russell himself.
So drama bomb.
He said because of a lighter role?
Yes, lighter comedic role.
But...
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is the same Ninth Doctor, right? The PTSD, I could feel the earth turning Ninth Doctor.
Apparently, Eccleston was looking for, a more Hello Clarice type of feel than what he was doing. And that's what it comes down to. I'm like, there's contracts that you sign, and at the end of the day, you're an actor. You do what you're told to do. That's how you get paid. I mean, it's not like, that's no different than me working at McDonald's. And it's like, I'm really tired of serving burgers. Like, why aren't we serving Mac tacos? Mac burritos. I don't understand. Like, this is crap. I'm quitting. This is not right. This is the job that you're doing. And it's not like you weren't informed of the role. It's not like you got hired and then it's like, here's your script, now you do it. You were informed of the role prior to. You had to audition for it. You had to get interviewed and picked for it. So you already have been knowing what the role was. Yeah. Exactly. So it seems to me like this is more, and I hate to say it because, he was one of my favorite doctors. And I say was for a reason because I'm seeing a lot of kind of like that spoiled brat, entitled child that's like, no, I don't like it. Don't wanna. Meh. Okay, I'm like, well, that would be why you got blacklisted, maybe, perhaps. I don't know, shade.
Well, if I could play devil's advocate for a second, being as someone who's been in the biz, it could be. I mean, yeah, you got to audition for the role, and the producers tell you how the character is, but there can be a difference when we go from, say, what you auditioned with, to the actual, actually what you're doing. It could be that, Zion brought it up. He brought up the PTSD doctor, that speech of I can feel the earth move, the stuff like when he was talking to the great, the Autumn intelligence and being like, I tried to save the planet. I tried, there's those dramatic moments, but then you have stuff like, for example, when he was in Rose's apartment for the first time and, trying to do card tricks and, reading through a tabloid and going, oh, that's never work. He's gay and she's an alien. That aspect, he probably, and maybe going in, he was like, oh, okay, this would be something I could try. But then seeing the amount of it, it was just like, okay, I didn't know I was going in for this much. And, I don't think it's a spoiled brat thing. I think it was just, it sounds like just the pressure and, a lot of the nerves just kind of got to him. And that's a human thing.
It is a human thing, absolutely, and I'm not taking away from that, but it's still the name of the game. It's still your job. So, yes, is that an explanation? I've been using this phrase way too long. It is an explanation, but it's not a justification. So, at the end of the day, the fault bears on our doctor rather than the BBC.
Now, see, I would have put a whole different spin on this when it first happened. I would have said we wanted him to leave so that we could do a regeneration so people could remember that the show has regenerations, and we wanted to introduce it as soon as possible. See, if they had brought it up like that, then the scandal, none of this would have mattered today. They could have done that. Because, to be honest, it was important to bring regeneration back in, and having it sooner than later did work. Christopher Eccleston was a great doctor, but we got an essence of the old show back as well.
I do have to disagree with you there, Mark.
Okay.
Spinning it like that, it could have opened the door for then Eccleston to be like, no, I left. It would have opened up another argument where it would have looked like the BBC trying to cover their backsides.
Well, it sounds like
Eccleston
they're covering their backside now. So, I mean, sooner than later again.
Yeah, but in essence, like saying, we did this because we thought, let's bring in the concept of regeneration, and doing that, Eccleston could have just said, then we would have had a different. We'd still have this story. We would have then had a different thing where you have the BBC lying to save face, and Eccleston having to turn around and go and defend, and also say no. I didn't choose to leave. I chose to leave because of this, not because
they could have made an agreement about it, and then he never would have been blacklisted because they would have had terms set up, and life would have been different.
Trish, what do you think?
I'm just sad that we didn't get more Chris Eccleston.
Same.
It just feels like, I don't know, it almost comes off as kind of high schoolish in a way. And it's just like, really, you guys couldn't be adults about this? I don't know.
The biz,
unfortunately,
can be very high
school. You can't act childish once in a while.
Yeah, but not childish where it affects the show. Childish where it affects everybody else.
Exactly. I mean, it's not just... It's one thing childish in the sense of, have a joy de vivre, but then there's another in childish in the sense of, oh, you left the show after 1 year, to heck with you. Oh, you guys are making my life miserable because I left the show. I was nervous. What do you want? Oh, you can't be nervous. It's the job. We're blacklisting you. Oh, well, you know what? I'm just not going to talk to you ever again, Did
they actually blacklist him, though?
Yes, they did for a little bit, and then they lifted him, because literally he could only, that's what he ended up being on G.I. Joe and stuff, because American...
that's
production
American,
gave him the job.
Exactly.
Okay. That's what I'm saying. Like, the American sector gave him the job. They gave him the job opportunities to be on, like, G.I. Joe and whatever. But as far as, the BBC, they did blacklist him. So it did kind of cut off his links on the UK sector. So
well, at least they brought him back. At least the BBC has taken the blacklist off. And
he declined it. And honestly, I think he should have taken it up as for the sake of his own career. But I think bottom line is, had he kept his mouth shut, we wouldn't be having this scandal and this drama, because now that's putting bad light on him with all these articles coming out and how he's talking about the BBC. If I was Hollywood, I'd be like, well, how are you going to talk about us, if we hire you and things don't go your way?
Right.
I honestly feel like it would have been better if he just didn't talk about it and just let it be. It's been years.
Well, I have to disagree there, because, I mean, it's... sometimes it is good to let these things out.
You don't intend to have a job again.
well, no, because sometimes you do have to, you do have to say something. You can't just sit there and have somebody, because you had a bad day or you had a bad experience. You can't just let somebody give you no career and force you to struggle to get parts and then just be like, oh, whatever, I'm not going to talk about it. I mean, I think he does have a right to speak out about it. The BBC has lifted their blacklist. They could put it on again if they so choose. But at the same time, I mean, it would be, I think, not to his advantage to just keep it inside and then, give others like the power that, we heard that Chris Eccleston doesn't like to talk about things like this.
Right.
So
all right, Chris, show me
again.
on the doll where BBC touched you. Show me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, think about how much sooner this blacklist would have probably been lifted if he had just done the 50th anniversary special.
Yeah.
Yep.
I agree.
Yep.
Yeah, he'd have been the.
I mean, I don't know. Okay, we got John Hurt out of it, which was great. But at the same time, just think how amazing it would have been to have him in the 50th.
Mm-hmm. Well, he declined that, so yeah. It's on him. But I mean, he's ultimately in charge of his own career.
Well, and plus, I mean, wounds heal at different rates. I mean, it could just be that the wound was still too fresh, even in 2013, and there just wasn't enough there for him to go, okay, I'm ready to go back.
Hashtag still salty. All right.
All right,
So the next article.
Next article.
Could we be saying goodbye to Jodie Whittaker's 13th Doctor just a few short episodes after we meet her? Likely not. But that is some of the questions that the fans are having since Whittaker is unable to confirm how long she's going to be starting on Doctor Who. Whittaker had been talking to a journalist, Chrissy Eiley, for the Sunday Times magazine. In a longer version of the interview, Chrissy asked how long had she signed up for BBC sci-fi series, and she said, quote, I'm not allowed to answer that. So now this is almost certainly a bit of a traditional secrecy from BBC. There wouldn't be much jeopardy in the series finale if every new Doctor was still in the frame for another 2 years. But it's not unheard of for Timeless to only stick around for a short while, Eccleston, before heading off to Doctor Who. I didn't even need to throw the shade. The article did it for me. Where he appeared in only 13 episodes as the 9th Doctor. So, the first female incarnation, she quoted, and I like this quote, "It feels completely overwhelming as a feminist, as a woman, as an actor, as a human, as someone who wants to continually push themselves and challenge themselves and not be boxed in by what you're told you can and cannot be." Is that not beautiful or what? Oh my God.
That's beautiful. That's so
great quote.
Mm-hmm. I'm literally about to put that on a pillow.
You should. You should.
Trish, do we know anybody who makes pillows? I know we got a... Because, I mean, I know we have...
Last week you offered to get patterns for the Doctor's coat, and now you're working on pillows. Have you become a tailor?
No. You're talking about when I told Dee Sadler. Yeah,
yes, I am talking about when I told Dee Sadler.
I actually did that. I did that, by the way. I did post on Twitter, and I tagged both Dee and my friend Shauna, and they both liked it, so hopefully they're talking right now as we speak.
See, there's continuity between Part 1 and Part 2 of MarkWHO42 is the greatest show in the galaxy. Two-parter. And actually, we talked about the Eccleston thing last episode, too, so yeah, this is totally perfect for Part 1 and Part 2.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So... I guess this all comes down to the fact that there's all this secrecy going on with Doctor Who, and is she staying, is she not staying? And all I have to say is, my dear fans, let's try not to reach into the universe too much and just take the information for what it is. I mean, to quote my dear friend River Song, spoilers. We don't want that.
Yeah,
I am going to call it 3 years in advance and say that she's leaving in 3 years.
I think they're waiting to see how well she's received.
Yes, that's exactly what I was thinking.
And also how well she does, because, I mean, I'm assuming she's going to be wonderful, but you never know. It might just not work. I just think that they're going to wait and see what the reaction is and how well it goes before deciding on what they're going to do.
Yeah, I think so too, because, I mean, you can't sit here and go, oh, well, she's going to be on for 3 years, and, that already sets it up for failure. Let's say you don't like Jodie Whittaker, you're like, okay, well, then I'm just going to back away from Doctor Who altogether. If you don't know how long she's going to be there, it still leaves your mind open to, well, is this going to get any better? I mean, and I think that the fans forget what we all inevitably go through anytime that there is a new Doctor. You're not going to like her at first. You're not going to like Peter Capaldi, Matt Smith, or David Tennant. Okay? if you are going through the entire adventure of Doctor Who, you must not forget what we all go through, the process of grieving. You're not going to like her at first. You're going to start judging her and criticizing her. And then eventually you're going to start rooting for her. Before you know it, you love her to pieces. And then she's got to go. And we rinse and repeat. You know, so, and I think the fans forget about that. You know, when this whole new chatter is going on about, oh, the new Doctor and this and that. I mean, of course, it's going to be met with criticism and stuff. You're comparing it to the love of your life. So
I'm getting a really strange sense of deja vu with this one article, because if I remember, someone asked the exact same thing right before Peter Capaldi started filming, or around when he just started filming. And, like, it just always struck me that, like, now that we are in this spot where, like, the Doctor hasn't even had their first episode yet, but we're already asking when are they leaving so that we can see the new Doctor.
I think so.
It does. Yeah.
He's old.
Oh, why is he so mean? God, he's so angry.
Yeah. He's so
Oh my God.
1960s to 1980s. Oh my God.
Yeah. Oh my God, you know. Oh my God, he's like, oh my God, like turning the Doctor into a woman. Oh geez. Oh, we're gonna have bras in the TARDIS now. Why turn into a woman?
What,
You're being all
bras in
social
the
justice.
TARDIS with all the companions there? I think there've always been bras in the TARDIS.
I just want to let you know that as far as females are concerned, bras were never a requirement.
That's true.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep, not a requirement.
I just hope
unless
that...
you want some support. And the Doctor
Oh,
needs
jeez.
support.
Oh.
You knew it was coming. You knew it was coming. All right.
I thought maybe you'd be a good boy and not do it.
No,
So the next supportive
it's my
article
last
is
show. I can do whatever I want.
Nanner. All right.
It's his party, and he'll cry if
I
he
know
wants.
you are, but what am I?
Exactly.
So the final article, a few months ago, Doctor Who fans were treated with a big release of information about the series of, BBC unveiling the new team of characters played by Bradley Walsh, Tossin Cole, Mandip Gill, and Sharon D. Clarke to be the TARDIS team for Jodie Whittaker. Since then, though, we've learned very little about those characters. We know some of their names. Walsh is Graham, Cole is Ryan, Jill is Yasmin, but not anything else about them, including how they're connected to one another, if at all. But now, that's all changing thanks to Sharon D. Clarke, who has revealed in an interview saying that the recurring characters are actually pretty close to one another, lead characters for better or for worse, you might say. So hint, hint.
Wow.
Oh,
Married Man in the TARDIS. We haven't had that since a couple of years ago.
Rory.
Yeah, I know. That was what I was saying. Yeah.
So, quote, I am a human, and Bradley Walsh is my husband, and he is human. And I think that's about as much as I can tell you, Clarke told Radio 4.
I don't think she was supposed to even tell him that. I think she broke protocol there.
Yeah, she actually went on further to say, I'm not sure if I could even tell you that. To be honest, I might have to kill you.
Yeah.
So the first Doctor, played by William Hartnell, was grandfather to Susan, as he had the companions Ian and Barbara in the early adventures. Chris's show will be very much its own thing, but that is kind of the vibe. That's another quote. And given that Clarke seems to be staying behind on Earth while the team have their adventure in time and space, pre-material suggests she isn't traveling in the TARDIS with the others. So we'd say she could be the source of some conflict for Whittaker's Doctor and her crew, perhaps unhappy to have members of the family zipping off around the galaxy.
There might be talk of a separation because she thinks that Bradley's cheating with Jodie. Could be some lawsuits in the TARDIS instead of hanky-panky.
She also went and released a little bit of information. By information, I mean, like not anything that it's going to help you in deciphering what the series of Doctor Who is going to be like, but definitely a little insight on Jodie Whittaker. Clarke said that she couldn't be happier working with Whittaker's Doctor, with the actor and singer paying tribute to the Broadchurch star. During her interview, she said, quote, Jodie is phenomenal. She's just a joy, an absolute joy, and she's going to slay it. And what's lovely about Jodie, because she always plays these kinds of dual characters who are downtrodden, someone who's up and hopeful and fighting crime. She is bouncing around the set. She's definitely earning those two hearts that the Doctor has. She's wonderful. I absolutely adore her. So it sounds like we got plenty to look forward to when the series finale finally returns later this year.
Yeah, well, when the series comes back proper, can't wait for that. Do we have any other news?
That's about it.
All right.
This news segment of MarkWHO42 has been sponsored by Cosplay Convention Center. You can find more information by clicking the link on MarkWHO42.net. They are a database for cosplayers, for anyone who works in the convention limelight. If you're looking for us, we're there. They have a database that narrows down where we're going to be. If you're looking for Doctor Who conventions in your area, this is a place to look. If you're looking for certain people going to conventions, you can find them there too. This database is amazing, and it's wonderful to use if you need to find out about your favorite genre, your favorite podcasts, your favorite professional cosplayers. Check out the Cosplay Guide. Again, you can find their link on MarkWHO42.net.
So we should have our own articles on these stories this week at MarkWHO42.net. So please read them and get more information than what we gave you. But you won't have the discussion unless you listen to us, which you just did. So that's good. And I'm making no sense whatsoever now. Okay. Shenanigans. All right. We're going to take a break. When we come back to our last recorded episode of MarkWHO42, for the time being, we will have Jessica Martin, who played Mags, the punk werewolf in The Greatest Show in the Galaxy with Sylvester McCoy and Sophie Aldred, and she played the voice of the Queen in the 10th Doctor Christmas adventure, Voyage of the Damned. We'll be right back.
I also heard she does a great Judy Garland.
She does do a great Judy Garland. Maybe we'll get her to do it for us. Like I said, we'll be right back.
Don't go away. Don't go away. We'll be back with more MarkWHO42 after this.
MarkWHO42 is proud to have Famous Faces and Funnies as a sponsor of our show. They have literally tons and tons of comic books, novelties, and everything. They're located off of 3020 New Haven Avenue in West Melbourne. If you want to give them a call, let them MarkWHO42 sent you. You can call them at 321-258-3575. But they are a huge store. I mean, you've seen comic stores, but this one is kind of like the Costco of comic stores. They have tons of merchandise. It's incredible. You can go from one store, then there's another section and another section. They have tons and tons of stuff there for you to buy. If you have any geekdom out there, Famous Faces and Funnies has got it. Doctor Who, Star Trek, Star Wars, everything. Rick, the guy who runs it, real great guy. You definitely want to check out Famous Faces and Funnies in Melbourne, Florida. Hey, Iggy.
Yes?
I know that you started watching Doctor Who as a newbie, with the new show, but have you gotten a chance to watch all 7 classic Doctors in action?
I have not.
Well, you can find the most complete collection of Doctor Who ever broadcast in the U.S. on Retro TV.
Shut the front door. Are you serious?
I'm serious, and you don't even need cable for this. This is over-the-air television. You have an HD antenna. You can watch around the country Retro TV. Many of the stories have been remastered and enhanced from their original film and videotape elements, so they come out beautifully perfect in HD.
Mind blown.
It's free. You just have to go to your TV and find Retro TV, and you can watch all the great Doctor Who. They show 2 episodes Monday through Friday, and they show more than that.
I think I shall get my pajamas and my Ben & Jerry's then.
And recently they've added news stories. Not news stories as in like they made new stories, but news stories that they haven't had in rotation, such as several Patrick Troughton tales that weren't on before. They're adding them to them. So there's more to watch because, those new stories became available. Web of Fear and Enemy of the World. So they've added things like that.
Oh my, I'm excited.
So don't forget to go and look for Retro TV and watch Doctor Who. You can go to RetroTV.com and look for their schedule for exactly when Doctor Who is on in your area.
I'm logging in as we speak.
This is Paul McGann, the 8th Doctor, and you're listening to MarkWHO42.
Welcome back to MarkWHO42. I'm your host, Mark Baumgarten, And with me today, of course, are Eduardo M. Fryer, Zion Quiros, and our special guest joining us on the last episode of MarkWHO42 on Krypton Radio. It's Jessica Martin. Hello, Jessica.
Hello, guys. Hi to all the Whovians out there. Nice to meet you.
Now, Jessica Martin played Mags in The Greatest Show in the Galaxy, the punk werewolf, and she also did a bit of New Who, so she's one of those people who've done both, and we'll talk about that a little later. But, Jessica, for those who don't know you, could you tell us a little about yourself?
Okay, so I'm a London, in the United Kingdom, based actress, but I'm also a number of other things, including a comic illustrator and writer, and also an impressionist. And all of these things link to my time in Doctor Who, which the very first time I was connected with Doctor Who, I played Mags, the punk werewolf, as you rightly described her, in The Greatest Show in the Galaxy, in the Seventh Doctor series. And the reason why I got that part is to do with the fact that at that time I was most well known to the television watching public here as an impressionist. And it was my skills as an impressionist, and in particular doing a very iconic figure, Judy Garland, which drew me to the attention of John Nathan Turner, who was the producer at that time. So that's the story of that's my origin story for Doctor Who, and I think that kind of lays the basic backstory for the people out there who, obviously they're all Doctor Who fans, but they may not necessarily know my character in this particular storyline.
Quick question: in terms of difficulty, how hard it was to play a person trying to suppress their werewolfness?
It wasn't a long stretch for me at all, because I have often asked myself the question why I was cast as Mags, and B, why she has kind of stayed in my life for so long. I feel that myself and the character are kind of inextricably entwined. And funny enough, I saw a documentary about Jim Carrey. Jim Carrey was talking about his time playing Andy Kaufman in that film Man in the Moon. And I don't know whether you're up to date with where he is now in his life, but he has a very sort of very metaphysical view of life and his place in the universe. But I'm kind of with Jim Carrey that sometimes as an actor there are roles that you are kind of meant for. The role is you and you are the role. And for me, I think I'm like Mags, the character. I'm quite a quiet person in my real persona, and a lot of people who know me from way back were very surprised, A, that I became a professional actress, and 2, that I did comedy impressions. That was something like a hidden thing that I had. And the whole thing about Mags is that nobody really knows much about her through 3 of the episodes, and then in the 4th episode, without doing too many plot spoilers, but all hell breaks loose and she shows her true colours. So I think that I'm kind of like her in that I am not as I appear to be on the surface, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Makes sense to me. Yeah.
Now, you went to Westfield College and Central School of Speech and Drama when you were growing up, and after you left, you did the Fringe Circuit.
Yes.
And you got to work with Harry Enfield. I love Harry Enfield.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I'm a fast show guy, and I just love his stuff. And then after that, you got to do Spitting Image, and Spitting Image is the greatest with the puppets and the impersonations. Even as an American, not being able to understand all the political jokes, I still found that show hysterical. Can you tell us about your time on Spitting Image? Okay,
so a bit of a circuitous story, but going back to as you have done your research very thoroughly, and what happened was I always wanted to be an actress. There was no doubt about that I wanted to act, and actually I particularly wanted to act, sing and dance from a very early age. But I was also quite academic, and so the road that I went to sort of get into acting was I did a degree in English and drama, which is why I ended up going to Westfield College and Central School. And we have this thing over in the UK, the Edinburgh Festival. Are you familiar with this? It's a fringe festival.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so when I was a first-year student, a troupe of us went up to do a very serious play. We did Women of Troy at Edinburgh. However, even at that time, I was kind of known amongst my peers for doing, I used to mock people. I would do my impressions of people in the cast, and I could also do famous people as well. So, we had an opportunity to do a cabaret one evening, and everyone said, right, Jessica, get up and do your Julie Andrews and Kate Bush and Barbara Streisand. So I did all these impressions, and one of the people from another college there was an actor impressionist called Rory Bremner, who's a very well-known satirical impressionist here. Yeah. So to cut forward to a couple of years after I graduated, our paths crossed again, and he was working on something and they needed a girl impressionist on it. So he and I were always kind of linked. He did the male political characters and I do the more kind of showbizy type characters. But there was one evening where a couple of guys who wrote for Spitting Image, the television show, were in to watch the cabaret, and they were actually specifically, I think, kind of there to have a look at Rory because, he was very much the political satire person. But I kind of shanghaied the gig because they liked. I did a Barbara Streisand, and I sang as her in that very Barbara. Tentative and very careful way. So I had the writers call me over to the table after the gig, and they basically said, would I meet John Lloyd, the producer, the next week and audition for Spitting Image? So I got the job. They made a puppet of Barbara Streisand, and my debut on Spitting Image was a Barbara Streisand puppet singing a song about waking up with a guy and his breath smells like a monkey house.
Oh.
Most ridiculous. I mean, obviously, I don't know whether Barbara Streisand ever saw or heard this, but she would have done her nut. But it was very, very funny and very irreverent. And so that's how I ended up. I ended up doing the Queen and lots of other very Spitting Image type regular characters. So I had this really fun first job on television doing Spitting Image and also doing another show called Copycats, which was actually in the flesh. People saw me and I'd be in wigs and disguised with a team of 6 male impressionists. Actually, we just did quick fire sketches and songs and stuff. So, that's how I ended up doing Spitting Image.
Now, you also worked with Bobby Davro?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. If you say the name of the TV show, Bobby Davro's TV Weekly, that means you work with Davros.
You're not. But very good. Very good.
I was holding on to that joke all week.
Of course, Mark, you've now put into my head. I am imagining, an SNL type stage, and out comes Davros, and he goes, "And you will enjoy our musical guests. We have Arcade Fire. It will be a good show. You will enjoy it. My Daleks will put on a wonderful show for you, and you will like it."
Okay. Maybe I shouldn't have thought about that joke then. Okay.
I'd like to thank John Goodman for stopping by.
Stop.
John Goodman.
He was just on an episode of Saturday Night Live. It was in my head.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
If you want to switch that out for somebody else, go ahead.
All right. Now, jumping a little bit, I found out just recently you actually played the Lady of the Lake in Spamalot in one of the productions.
Yes, I did. I was
Wow.
on, because I sing too, and I have a very varied range. Obviously, with doing impressions, I can do lots of different styles. But the Lady of the Lake is a real sort of virtuoso. You get to sing every style that ever was in the one part, so it's great fun.
That's definitely one of my favorite musicals that's out there.
You were the voice of the Queen in Voyage of the Damned for New Who. I was just wondering, like, how did you get the job of voicing the Queen? Did they know you had been Mags in the classic series, or was it because of your impressionist work, or was it kind of a mix of both?
It was a mix of both. I think they definitely saw the cult factor in having somebody who'd been in Doctor Who before doing the voice, and they knew that I'd done Spitting Image and I'd done the Queen. So yeah, it was definitely, I covered all the bases, and it was a really nice thing to do because it was very easy. I didn't have to dress up as the Queen. I was merely the voice. Yeah.
So that was not you waving?
No, it was not. It was somebody pretending to be me.
My very young self would not forgive me if I didn't ask this, but you did some video game voice work for Dragon Quest VIII.
Yes, I did.
How was that?
I think it was a rather lovely role that I played in that. She was Imperia was a lovely character, and I got to use a very good authoritative voice for her. I was worried for a moment that you'd mention another video game, because do you know there is actually a Jessica Martin in America who does video game voices, and it's not me. Yes.
Really?
Yes, we are Legion. You got the right one. I did do Dragon Quest.
We got the right one. Good.
Was that your first video game role, or is it still your first video game role?
Yes, I did do. They did a follow-up to Dragon Quest about 4 years ago or so, and I did that one as well. But I can't think off the top of my head. I've only done about sort of 2 or 3 video games. Mainly, my voiceover work has been in adverts and audiobooks, including, here's another Doctor Who link for you, but I've done a whole series of books on Wurzel Gummidge, who John Pertwee played in the TV series.
Oh.
Yeah, I love Wurzel Gummidge.
Miss Sally, can you please put my right head on right now?
Yeah. Oh, yes. Wurzel Gummidge, great. Thank you.
Who's doing the voices?
I should do a radio show of Wurzel Gummidge, get the rights to it, and I could do it. No.
Oh God.
Oh yeah, I know. This is heading south fast. Okay, let's talk about your musical roles. You played Nellie Forbush in South Pacific. You got to play Mrs. Lovett in Sweeney Todd, and Norma Desmond in Sunset Boulevard.
Ooh.
Which do you prefer, TV or stage work?
Well, I haven't done very much TV work in recent years, although I had a very nice little comeback, or shall we say just return, over Christmas, because I was playing Buddy the Elf's stepmom in Elf the Musical in Manchester in a theatre called the Lowry, and they broadcast it on national television on Channel 5 on Christmas Day and another day, and it's probably going to be out there again next Christmas, so that was rather fun. But I have to say now, I still perform as an actress, pretty regularly. I think for somebody who's been in it 30 years, I can't complain that I've been left behind or forgotten. So I love doing the theatre work, but of course I've now expanded my my career in the arts to doing comics, and that is a very intensive, all-consuming thing, which I love. I've just opened this wonderful door into a whole, kind of a whole new career, really. So I think, television may be there or not, as it may, but if it is there, you don't, as long as it's not a huge commitment, I think I'd be happy to do that. But I'm very, put it this way, I'm kind of in my in my creative zone and flow, and I'm very content. A few years ago, if you'd asked me the question, I probably would have said, oh, I wish I'd had more exposure on television or whatever. But, things and priorities change. And I also love the fact that I never realized what the legacy of appearing in Doctor Who all those years ago would be. And kind of, it's like there's no better time ever to be connected with that show. So it's brought me wealth in untold ways, and there's something else that's coming up soon which we'll talk about.
But first, you do a lot of conventions. I mean, how many a year do you normally do?
Well, I did, in terms of comic conventions, and some of those were Doctor Who.
Yeah, conventions, the science fiction, comic, Doctor Who.
All the geek conventions, I probably did about 8 or 9 last year.
Right.
This year I've cut right back because I'm actually working on a memoir, which is a graphic memoir.
Oh.
I crowdfunded it last year, and this year I've got to do the work. So that's why when I talk about the comic work, I really am earnest about that, because I'm in it as we speak. I'm kind of juggling between that and the other job, which we're going to talk about in a minute as well.
Is there a difference between American Doctor Who conventions and comic conventions and British conventions?
Yes. I think, Gallifrey 1 is unlike any other convention that I've been to. It's just like this kind of, it's a wonderful world unto itself. And within the world, the umbrella of Doctor Who, you've got, obviously you've got the return of actors that have been in it and creatives associated with the TV series. But there is so much. And of course, now that I've got my comics identity as well, there's all the comic stuff. There are, for people that are interested in astrophysics and things, I can't get over the amount of super intelligent boffin type people who will speak very knowledgeably on fringe subjects, which have, basically they've had a whole career as a highly qualified astrophysicist because they watch Doctor Who. That I find quite astounding. And then of course there's Big Finish too. I've done 3 Big Finish audio dramas, but they are a big part of the convention. So we have that here, but they're probably a little bit smaller than the Gallifrey one. That is a really big convention, and I haven't been to any other American conventions yet. But
okay.
I think.
Wow, so this was your first American convention. Cool. Have you been over to America?
Well, no, I was at the Gallifrey 1 2 years ago as well.
Oh, so you've done 2 of them.
But this is yes.
And I bring this up trepidatiously. What did you think about that final panel that went on at Gallifrey 1 this year?
Oh, right. I think it was a very powerful panel and a discussion that probably all of us, because it was the Me Too discussion. But there was nothing, should we say, there was nothing in the contents, in the program to hint that that's how it would be. But I found it very very moving, very disturbing, but also I found it very uplifting to think that really, in terms of the history and the current state of Doctor Who, it's a very kind of pure area. I think that people, anybody, not just women, but anybody who's from a minority or an outside group is treated fairly and kindly and empathetically. It is the place. It is the place for you. So it was good to have that discussion, and it was interesting to sort of hear some of the actresses' stories that possibly they had not ever revealed before, so it's kind of, if you like, kind of like a public therapy in some ways.
Yeah, I agree with that. I was deeply moved by the panel. I actually, and I said this last week, when Wendy Padbury told her story, I cried. I was gobsmacked.
Yes.
It was really terrible.
It must have been very hard for her to share that, but then, she's one of the senior members, she's been around the longest since the early days, and I guess she's thinking, well, why shouldn't I've carried this with me for so long, and if this can help other people understand that they're not alone in whatever they might have been through, and to speak up about these things, that it does change the status quo. But it was great because, I mean, even the fact we were able to have that discussion, it says a lot about the nature of the Doctor Who fandom and the nature of those conventions, because they're not always friendly in that regard. I'm not going to go into anything too specific, but, you know...
It could have gone the other way. Yeah, that would have been horrible.
Mm.
Okay, so we just went on a little bit of a downer, so let's bring it back up. Let's try to bring the show back up. Let's talk about Greatest Show in the Galaxy. What memories, what special memories do you have of the time making that story?
I have only lovely memories. I have lovely memories of going into John Nathan Turner's office, thinking that I was going into audition, but actually finding out that he and his partner Gary were my big fans, and they loved me doing Judy Garland. And that's why, you know, I got to see The Wizard of Oz, John Nathan Turner, and he granted my wish to play a straight part. So there you go. I felt very much that this was meant to be. This was in my, you know, I said before about feeling linked with the part. Well, I did feel like the fact that they called me in and I seemed to fill whatever brief it was that they had in mind for the character. And then, of course, there were the relationships that I had with Sophie and Sylvester and the late, great actor T.P. McKenna, who played the captain. He was just marvellous. Well, I've been a fan of his since I was a kid, so it was great working with him. And also Peggy Mount, who played the flower seller. She had a cameo role in that, but she was somebody who was actually a good friend to me. She played fairy godmother in 2 pantos of Cinderella that I'd done. So again, it sort of felt like a family, and we just were, you know, we were kind of like a soul group reunited for this, and reunited again very recently. So it was wonderful. Even the weather, you know, we were filming on location, and we had just kind of this freak summery weather we don't often get over here. So that was all a pleasure. And even the downside, you know, when they had the asbestos scare at the TV studios and then we had to film outside, it wasn't any hardship to us. It was just like filming in another location, and it was absolutely perfect being a circus tent. Where else would you have a circus tent but outside? So, yeah.
You broke kind of your, now like a writer-illustrator, you had your books at Galley, and I noticed that the graphic novels, they're very much about stories of old Hollywood. What kind of made you decide to do these stories? Like, what drew you to that?
Well, it was the only possible thing. If I were going to do something which was purely for the love of it, because let's face it, comics are they're a very hard medium. They look easy because they tend to be fun and upbeat and full of action, but they're harder than doing a prose novel. So it started out as a hobby for me, and I've always loved the history of old Hollywood, the stories of the moguls who built the studios, the stories of the movie stars, the types of films they used to make. And I have a huge collection of books about films, old film annuals from the 30s and 40s. So that has been my kind of immersive passion since I was probably about 7 years old. And in terms of why I chose to do, I mean, my very first comic, which I was selling at Gallifrey One, was It Girl, which was about Clara Bow, a long-forgotten 20s movie star. I mean, movie buffs know who she is, but the general public, you know, you ask them who the biggest sort of sex symbol of the screen was, and they'll say Marilyn Monroe, and Clara Bow was the it girl of her age. And the reason why I made that comic was because I had in mind my long-form graphic novel theme. The graphic novel is Elsie Harris Picture Palace, and that was again set in a background of the film industry in the 30s. But in order for me to even find out whether or not this kind of comic had legs or you know had an audience, a market, I decided to make a short form comic. So the It Girl comic, which is 12 pages, was my little independent, you know, testing the waters. And the lovely thing is that people just responded very positively to it, and I got really lovely reviews, and it still sells. You know, it's my my first work, and obviously, hopefully I've evolved since then and moved on to other things, but people like it. They like the subject matter and they like the style of it. So I'm very proud of it. And I think that, they say in writing anything, you should write what you know. I think that could also apply to write what you love. Although I am not myself a vintage movie star, I am a performer. So I think I understand the stories that go on behind the scenes and the dynamics, the arc of a performer's career or creative's career. So I feel very comfortable in that area.
Well, and I think this would be a good time to kind of segue, keeping in the comics era, but you actually have something coming up where you do get to throw in some Doctor Who. There's going to be a 7th Doctor miniseries from Titan, but there's a backup feature that's going to be with these stories besides the 7th Doctor. You know what? Since you're here, might as well tell anybody who doesn't know, which you probably should by now, especially if you were at Galley. What is it you're going to be? What's the backup that you're going to be working on?
Okay, so the backup comic story is by Richard Dinnick. Richard is familiar to people at Gallifrey One. He's written for the 12th Doctor series as well, and I think he'll probably be writing for the 13th Doctor. He's terrifically talented and inventive.
We actually had him on the show back in 2013. He's a great guy.
Oh, right, yes.
Yeah.
Well, he's great, and he's kind of, he's a real mover and shaker in the comics world. And a few people actually have been saying to me, what's happening with Mags? Is she ever going to come back in a story? Or, do you think you might do a comic story? And it was Richard who came up with the idea of a story which he pitched to Titan, and then when he got the green light from them, he just sort of came and announced to me, and I was so thrilled. He said, I've created a spin-off story for Mags, and the editor at Titan loves it, and I suggested that you illustrate it because you played her and he's aware of your work as a comic artist. So yeah, it was like the circle is complete. So wow. I now have my work cut out for me. I need to be. I haven't started on them. I'm going to be designing them, I think, probably this week. But I have got 8 pages to do for this coming 2 issues, a special 2-issue edition, which is going to be published in June. So it's not long to wait now.
I can't wait. I'm definitely going to get these because Sylvester is one of my favorite doctors. So having a 7th Doctor miniseries is great, but having a Mags backup is even better.
Yeah, well, who knew? and the nice thing as well is that I will probably be redesigning her slightly because she's going to be in a different parallel universe, and without giving too much away about the actual storyline, but they're going to be big head nods to the 40s noir film style, so be a little bit of Blade Runner meets Casablanca. Maybe.
Okay, see, I was sold I was sold at 7th Doctor miniseries from Titan. Then they had to pile on with Mags backup illustrated by the woman who played Mags, and then now it's Blade Runner meets Casablanca. I'm like, I'm sold. I'm getting this. I'm getting this. I don't need more.
Oh, fabulous. Well, there you go. So that's what I mean about, the Doctor Who, it keeps giving back. It gives back to a lot of the people associated with it. But, considering I didn't play a companion, I played a one-off character in the series. I find it quite incredible that people, they love that storyline, The Greatest Show in the Galaxy, and that, and my character's got this chance to kind of have another life, which is wonderful.
So you've got the memoir you're working on, you've got this comic on Mags that's coming up. What else is in the future for Jessica Martin?
Well, the most imminent thing for me, I have to confess, I am feeling slightly under the pressure, but I've got a wonderful acting opportunity. I've been offered a play which is called Shirleymander. That will mean nothing to you. It didn't mean anything to me when I first heard it, but it's all about a real life political figure called Shirley Porter, who in the 1980s, she was responsible for, there's a term they use which is called gerrymandering. And this is where...
Yes, we have that in America too.
Yes.
And the world over, not just in our country, but other countries too, there are a lot of things that are not quite kosher that go on. And the old social cleansing things and twisting things around to suit the numbers. Well, that's what this play essentially is about. And she is the key figure in the play, and a kind of really interesting, she's a Missy. She is, she's doing what she does and doesn't think there's anything wrong in what she does. And she'll be loud, proud, and probably quite charismatic. And I'll be playing her, I'll be sort of giving it my best Betty Davis commitment to playing a kind of, a strong female antagonist.
Now I have the urge to listen to Betty Davis Eyes by Kim Carnes.
There you go.
If I had any skills with making videos making videos and putting them on YouTube, I would probably use the song and then just have a close-up of Mags turning into a werewolf.
Maybe I'll do that, because I do music videos. Jessica, we didn't ask this, and I think we definitely should. When you were growing up, were you a Doctor Who fan?
Oh, yes, I was a Doctor Who fan. I was a John Pertwee Doctor Who girl. I did... Sort of when I was very tiny, I do remember seeing Patrick Troughton for a short time, but it was John Pertwee for me, and I was lucky enough to meet him when I was about 7. We had a church fete, and John Pertwee he cut the ribbon and opened the event. So there you go.
I got to meet him at a convention in the 80s. He was judging the costume contest, and I dressed up as Zaphod Beeblebrox with the extra head and the extra arm from Hitchhikers.
Oh,
and
wow.
He actually put me down for best media, and I got an award, so that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
John was a great doctor. I mean, definitely anti-authoritative, and definitely one of my favorites. Did you watch anything, did you stick with it when Tom Baker came on, or were you getting too old for it, or...
No, I think I was probably, in my mind, too old. Maybe I was doing other things and into my musicals and things then. But Tom Baker is, along with John Pertwee, he's kind of up there. He made that part truly his own. Tom Baker and the Doctor, they are one. And I did do a big finish with him, and he did not disappoint. He was very larger than life, full of stories, and I got the full Tom Baker experience.
Wow. When the show came back in 2005, have you been watching any of it?
No, I have to confess, no. I just have as you can see, I'm an extremely busy person.
Extremely busy, yes.
I have all these careers. I don't watch a lot of television, and I have to kind of be dragged to be reminded, you better watch what you've stocked up on Netflix, or else you won't have enough hours left in your life to watch the telly. So that's where it is. But I do really want to watch the 13th Doctor, Jodie Whittaker.
Yes.
I'm very intrigued.
It's exciting. If people want to get in touch with you, how can they do that? Do you have a Twitter or Facebook account?
Well, Twitter's probably the best. I'm Jessica 7 Martin on there. And if you want to find out anything about what I'm up to, I blog regularly on my website, which is jessicamartinofficial.com. And within that website, you'll find everything you need if you want to find out where to get my books and comics. There's my Artemis publishing site is nested within that website as well. So it's all there.
Very good. Guys, was there any other questions you want to ask Jessica?
Nope. Unless, does she still have all her... all the mag stuff, like the contact lenses, the fangs, or...
No, nothing. I wish I had kept something. I wish I'd kept the amulet that she had. That's one of the things. That'd be so cool to have. But no, it's like all things. As an actor, you do the job, and then the circus tent comes down and you move on, and everything. It's a bit like fireworks. They go up in the air, make this big burst of colour, and then they're gone. But here we are, the Doctor Who thing is not gone, and it never will.
All right. So, Jessica, I want to thank you so much for appearing on our final Krypton Radio appearance on MarkWHO42. We really appreciate it, and it was lovely meeting you. Galley 1 was such a great experience for me. It was my first, and getting to meet you was one of the highlights.
Oh, wow. It was your very first one.
It was my first Gallifrey. Yes, it was.
Oh, well, they are amazing. I'm just hoping and praying that I will get to visit another time, because I had a great time as well. And thank you very much for inviting me onto your show. I'm honoured to be on the last of your series. So that's a lovely accolade. And I hope everybody out there, I think we've covered everything, but I hope people will continue to enjoy all the Doctor Who they can possibly digest in one life. and look out for that comic in June.
Definitely will be looking out for that. Jessica Martin, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be right back with more of MarkWHO42.
Don't go away. Don't go away. We'll be back with more MarkWHO42 after this.
MarkWHO42's final show, April 1st, 12 p.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. UK time, with special guest John Davey, live. This is no April Fool's joke. This is our final episode, and it is live. MarkWHO42's final show, live.
I did my Christmas shopping, and I got my girlfriend the Peter Capaldi crystal carving at DoctorWhoCrystals.com. And you should go there too. They've got official BBC licensed crystal carvings of all the Doctors inside of a crystal carving of a TARDIS. They are actual crystal, and they are beautiful. They've got every Doctor to choose from, and they're only $100. They're not that expensive. So do what I did and get your spouse happy by buying them a crystal carving from DoctorWhoCrystals.com. You know, I might buy the War Doctor one for myself.
Hello, this is Peter Davison, and you're listening to MarkWHO42.
Welcome back to MarkWHO42 here on Krypton Radio. That music you just heard was played by station owner Gene Turnbow. Hey, Gene.
Hey.
So,
sorry, just messing around.
That's cool. That's cool. You know, it's our last show and on Krypton Radio for now, and I just wanted to talk with you about, what our show has meant to Krypton Radio.
Well, it certainly meant a lot. I have to say, I think you've been with us for 3 years?
I think it's been 3 years, yeah. It would have been 2015. I think I signed the contract, so yeah.
And in that time, MarkWHO42 rose from listener count barely differentiable from the background noise to our top-rated show. Oh. And you guys currently draw 3 times the listener count of any other show we've got. And that's not an exaggeration.
Wow. That is cool. And it makes me want to second guess my leaving, but I do need to rest for a while. We need some time off.
Yeah, and it boy, can I relate. I mean, we have a show called The Event Horizon, and approaching our 200th episode. I think you blew past that number a long time ago.
You're talking on 215 right now.
And boy, it's strenuous.
Yeah.
Just keeping up the pace, and after a while you go, oh my God, I've got to do this again. After so many years, you need a break sometimes to go back and sharpen the saw and get everything back in order so you can start fresh.
Yeah, we definitely want to come back before the season starts because we would love to review it. And I'm hoping from a conversation we had a couple of weeks ago that if I'm back up to a weekly schedule, you might have us back.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. In a heartbeat.
So, Gene, what are you going to replace us for the time being with? What can people on listening to Krypton Radio look forward to?
Well, let's see. I am talking to Mr. Vestek of Mr. Vestek's Outpost about possibly having a Star Trek show, but we are also gaining Gallifrey Stands.
Oh, you're gaining Gallifrey Stands. Gallifrey Stands is coming on. I was just on their 201st episode with Jeremy Raddick, and there was some kind of game show they were doing, and we were a special bonus competition part to help one of the contestants win. We had to answer questions for a particular contestant.
You were the dial-in expert?
Yes, we were the dial-in experts. We were asked 5 questions. I think we got 4 of them, possibly the 5th. I don't remember.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So it's people you know.
Yeah. So wow, Gallifrey Stands. They're a good show. They're definitely a good show.
I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be different, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
It's produced from a different perspective with respect to being on the other side of the pond, so to speak.
Yeah, they're coming from England.
Yeah, they have quite a following in their own right.
Yeah.
So it's going to be good stuff. And we are also working on Krypton Radios, and this is weird because we're a radio station, but we are working on an animated web series.
Yeah, you showed me pictures of it. Tell everyone about it.
It's called Mighty Aphrodite. And it has nothing to do with the Mira Silvano movie from sort of movie 1998. No, Woody Allen has nothing to do with it.
I'm sorry. It's
the first thing that people ask. Oh, you mean like the Mira Sorvino film? No. In this one, Aphrodite is a real goddess, and goddesses survive on the belief energy of the who believe in them, and she goes out to this little temple, a temple of Hera, to go visit because a little cult of Aphrodite has sprung up nearby. And then people stop believing in Aphrodite, and she gets stranded there. So she's stranded at this temple for 2,000 years, and along comes our male protagonist, Ben, an archaeologist, who was the last person on Earth who still believes in Aphrodite as being a living person.
Wow.
And she's able to return.
Oh, wow. That sounds really cool. And is this going to be on YouTube or?
Yeah, it's going to be on YouTube. We have the first episode in the can. The shooting's all done. I mean, the animation is all done. We're just doing the soundtrack and the voiceover, and we will have the first episode finished to start the Kickstarter with.
Oh, wow.
So people will be able to see exactly what we're doing. We anticipate that this one's going to go kind of viral because Mighty Aphrodite is a show for people who want to fall in love and for people who have and want to remember what those first moments were like. And that includes just about everybody. Yeah. So I think the show will have very, very broad appeal. And the characters are well designed and they're cute and they're endearing and they're approachable. And I think everybody's just going to love it.
Gene, I'd like to say, and I didn't say this, I want to thank Krypton Radio so much for having us as part of your station. You helped us with 2 different commercials. You actually, like the Mighty Aphrodite, you animated 2 30-second commercials for us for broadcast. And you've really done nothing but give us great, you've given me advice, and you gave us a great time slot, and I just want to thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. And this is just how you're supposed to do business with people. Yeah. You take care of the people you care about, and they take care of you, and everybody rises together. This is what it's about. We are the new media. This is it. Yeah. This is what works. And together we can do great things.
And I can't wait to do great things with you again once I relax for a while and take a look at my show and see what we can do.
Much needed vacation.
I need a vacation. Yeah.
been running this show, what, 7 years? 6 years?
6 years. April 1st would be the 6th anniversary of opening our Facebook site, and the show started in August, and then a second show after we did 8 episodes started in November. So it's almost 6 years, yeah.
That is a lot of years. People say, oh, I want to do a podcast. Then they find out just how strenuous it is, especially if you have to do it every week, week in, week out, 52 weeks a year, year after year, and maintain the waiting list on the guests and at quality, and maintain the energy level and the excitement and the engagement with the fans.
Well, it wouldn't be so hard if I didn't have a day job. The day job is interfering. I would love to do MarkWHO42 as a science fiction radio show daily. I would do it, but I've got the rest of my life to do too.
Yeah. Well, and most of us do. And I'm actually quite blessed. My wife, Susan Fox, the executive producer of the station, and I work together on this thing, and I work full time on the station. This is my day job, so I get to do all sorts of fun things. But absolutely, yes. If you're trying to do full-time creativity on a part-time schedule, it can be one of the most draining things there is.
And it has been. Not that I would have thrown it away. Not that I would ever have thrown it away.
Oh, God, no. No. But, boy, it can wipe you out.
Yeah.
And, sometimes you just need a break so that you can sharpen the saw and come back ready to go. Well, thank you so much for being a part of the Krypton Radio family. It has been a pleasure and an honor to have you with us.
And it's been an honor for you to have us. So we're both honoring each other, and this is like we're at the end of the last episode that we're doing on your station. We're having
a mutual admiration society.
That's what we're having, a mutual admiration society. I like that. Okay, Gene Turnbow, the owner, should I say, of Krypton Radio. Thank you so much once again.
Oh, you're quite welcome. Thank you for having me on. Wait. I've been had.
No, you haven't been had. No.
Thank you for allowing me. You can edit this later.
Yeah, I can. Or maybe I'll let it just stay in. Maybe this time I won't edit. Maybe this time I'll let people listen to this
and go, the heck? I thought this was supposed to be professional radio.
Oh, no, we're a mutual admiration society right now. We're not radio anymore.
It's so much fun doing this stuff. My experience as a media professional and as a performer has been broadened so immensely by being able to work with people like you and like MarkWHO42. So there you go. Anyway,
all right.
I'm going to do another.
We can go on for hours, but I don't think I think the computer will cut us off at 2 hours or something. No, it won't be. We won't go that long. I promise. Our last show, we will not go over an hour and a half. Okay.
Anyway, thank you so much for allowing me to be part of your final episode, and we hope to have you back soon. And it's been a great pleasure and an honor.
I want to thank once again, I keep thanking him, Gene Turnbow, the head of Krypton Radio, that I just spoke to a little about how we affected Krypton Radio and how Krypton Radio affected us. So we had a little chat, and it was really good. I hope you enjoyed that. All right, guys. Well, since this is our last recorded episode, I'm going to give each of you a chance to say goodbye. Now, who's coming up for April 1st? Who's doing April 1st at noon or 9 a.m. for you guys? I'm definitely going to be there. John Davey, the man behind the monsters in Doctor Who, will be there. Who else will be there?
I will.
Zion will be there. That's good. Trish and Ed, I'm sure, will be there. Trish and Ed will. Iggy, you will not?
Oh, yeah.
Unfortunately, I will not be there for the whole thing. I will pop in and,
good.
Party crash for a little bit, but I will be at MTAC Nashville.
That's right. You've got that convention. Tell everyone about it, because it's coming up next week, or this week.
Yes, it's coming up this week. We will be traveling up to Nashville, Tennessee for MTAC, 18th Battalion Anime Con, where we have been blessed with a primetime slot, 8:45 p.m. on Saturday evening. Let's Be Reals will be taking the stage and hopefully providing a lot of fun and probably a little bit of trauma, but it's going to be okay. I think some of my members have psychology background.
That's good. That's good. How was the convention that you guys did last weekend?
Oh, yeah. It was definitely a learning experience, and it was fun. I did get to meet the con showrunner, and she gave me the blessing for their sister convention, NecoCon, coming up here. So I'm excited, and it seems like we have a lot more conventions where that came from. Let's keep it real.
And I, of course, just did CalusaCon. It was a great convention. I want to thank Carmen DeSantos for inviting me there. We had a nice Suvians Anonymous session, which actually went on for 20 minutes, and then we covered everybody in the room. So we had to come up with some other ideas to talk about for the remaining time, and we talked about Jodie Whittaker and companions, and we're not the only ones who weren't Clara fans. I gotta tell you, because the people at CalusaCon were telling stories about how they were not enamored with.
That
Clara
happened
either.
at the convention that I went to. Yeah, the panel. Like, I brought up Clara, and it was immediately met with
But it was a fun convention, and Carmen, I would love to do another one when we get back on the MarkWHO42 trail again. But like I was saying, let's have final words from everyone for at least this, in case they can't make the live show. So we're going to start with Iggy, because Iggy is not really going to be the whole show next time.
Well, first of all, Mark, I am so grateful to you. I don't think you quite understand the amount of responsibility you have for my success with my own personal business. And if it had not been for you, I would not have this wonderful, wonderful family. I would not have Trish or Eduardo. And honestly, I don't know what I would do without you guys. I really don't. And I'm excited to change things up with MarkWHO42. I definitely think that it's going to be a much better show seasonally than weekly, because, man, you need a break, okay? Yeah. Mm-hmm. You need a break.
I know, 6 years is a long time.
It is a long time. But, when we do come back, I'm excited. It's going to be fun. It's going to be banter, comedy. And, it's almost like a family reunion, and I can't wait. I can't wait. And, Zion, my secret crush over here. I can't wait. It's going to be great. And of course, Eduardo, I can't do it without you. Let's Be Reals would not be real enough without you. And then Patricia, who's always my voice of reason and sanity whenever I'm freaking out, man. So this is, I wish that the audience would know what it's like to be in my shoes, because it's freaking awesome. It is. And I'm going to miss everybody. All right, we're coming back.
Zion, final words.
I find it ironic that Ed is here, because without Ed, I wouldn't be here right now. It's I don't know if he remembers me, but last SuperCon he went to, I won that costume contest. I dressed as the Seventh Doctor.
Yeah.
Yes. And Ed told me, just don't be just a face. Just come stick around and do whatever. And I capitalized on that, and here I am right now. So now, I don't know. I really, really loved this more than I thought I would.
Right.
I will not lie.
Yep.
I love this a lot. I love you guys. Y'all are amazing.
Thanks.
I can't wait to go on with this. We finally have Wilderness Years. We are not actually like the show.
Years. Yeah, it's time for... And then we come back and do MarkWHO42. There you go. I like that. We won't be gone for 16 years, folks. Don't worry.
And to usher in the wilderness years. There are worlds out there where the sky is burning, where the sea is asleep, and the rivers dream. People made of smoke and cities made of song. Somewhere where there's danger, somewhere where there's injustice, and somewhere else the tea is getting cold. Come on, Ace, we have work to do.
Yeah.
Oh my God, my heart.
That's beautiful.
My heart.
And you don't have to do that next week. It's been done. It's been done.
Okay, there we go. Okay, well, you know what? I think actually, if we're gonna also do goodbyes,
yeah,
we have to somehow pull out our best Hartnell.
That we're saving.
Okay, we'll save. We'll save it, and or you know what? Or if anything, we can pull out Tom Baker's chestnut of "This is the end, but the moment has been prepared for."
Yeah, I actually used it in one of the commercials for the
there
episode,
we go.
the April episode.
So there we go. There we go. We've got. I think we've got a bucket. We've got a bucket of stuff we can pull out. If we want to, go out on a high note. 7th Doctor, 12, 4, 1. We can even go out with a master laugh. We could just.
There we go. You will obey me. I am the master.
Yeah,
yes, master.
Yeah, I think you need.
Yes,
I think you need to put in. Well, I think you need to put in like a little bit more force there. You're kind of.
Well, that's
that
why
kind
we're
of came
stopping
off
the
as.
show. I'm tired.
Yeah.
I'm so
See,
tired.
Yeah. That did come off as the master before morning coffee.
Yeah.
You will bring me an espresso.
You're gonna get me an espresso and make it in the K cup. And then serve it to me and put a little cream in it, maybe. You will
in the
obey
K
me
cup.
and put some stevia in it so I don't get gain some more weight. And yeah, thank you. And
I too real. Too real.
Yeah. This is
So that was Ed and Trish. Final words.
Oh wow! Well, who would have thought we would have made it this far?
Yeah.
I mean, you and I started this
as a not safe for work Tumblr site.
Yeah. It was pretty interesting the first few months. We were trying to figure out what to do.
Don't get any jealous.
Well, I mean, you're responsible for me and Eddie getting together in a way. It's like if you hadn't brought him on, because it was pretty obvious after the first few episodes that we needed another person on this.
Yeah.
And if you hadn't brought him on, never would have met Ed, never would have married him, never, all this. Yep. Yeah. It's your fault. Yeah.
Yep. See, it's all you. It's all you, Mark.
If anything happens, I'm Godfather, right? That's how it works, right? Because anything happens.
Well, that depends. That depends, Mark.
It depends. The guy who got you together, it depends. Okay.
Mark, if you want to be Godfather, you have to be okay with secretly plotting the assassination of the heads of the 5 families.
That worked.
Okay, can you do that? Can you do that? All right. See, you gotta be willing to stand there while the priest is blessing the baby and go, "Do you reject Satan and all his works?" I do. Well, meanwhile, somebody's getting shot in the bed, and Mo Green is getting shot in the eye while getting a. Remember, you got to be able to be saying "Yes, I do," while somebody's shooting Mo Green in the eye. Okay, if you can't do that,
all I know is I keep trying to get out, and they keep pulling me back in. So
every time I leave, something keeps pulling me back.
Okay. I can do a Corleone if I want.
But seriously, this has been fun. I mean, I know, and I took a few years off, and I'm glad you guys had success during that time. And it's been nice to come back for a little bit, and definitely want to come back when you're ready. We'll be here.
You're all welcome back. I got to tell you. Yep. Let me just say, and I'm going to save most of this for the last show, but I just want to thank all of you out there who have come to the conventions, who have listened to our show, who have come up to us and told us how much they appreciate the show. I want to thank all the guests we've had on the show. God, we've had a lot of guests. Over 120 guests, 100 of them from Doctor Who. I mean, this show started as an improv show that we did for 8 weeks, and then we stopped, and we started up again and did a regular show with kind of just talking heads, and then we started bringing in guests, and it just built up, and the momentum kept rolling and rolling and rolling until we got to where we are today. I am just so appreciative to all our fans and everybody who have made MarkWHO42 Mark. Thanks, I appreciate it, and of course, I want to thank all of you, my co-hosts and the co-hosts of the past, who have been on the show. I want to thank each and every one of you for making this show a success.
Absolutely. Hail and farewell.
Hey,
And on
so
that
long.
note,
Farewell.
we're going to cry. And we're going to say goodbye. No, we're not going to cry. No. Now, a lot of you out there may be thinking, they're doing this live show on April 1st. Are they just playing an April Fool's prank on us? We're not.
Yes.
No, we're not. We're taking a break. We're taking a break. It just happens that was the anniversary of our Facebook page.
If you're having me wake up at 9 o'clock in the morning and there is no live show, I'm gonna be jumping on a plane and coming out.
I mean MarkWHO42 in general stopping. It's real. It's a conscious decision.
Don't make me wake up early on a Sunday and find out nothing's going on. Okay, I will. I know where you live, buddy. Okay, I know the price of a ticket down to.
You do.
Here. Yep. And I know. And hey, I got people who know how to get cheap tickets down to Florida. I will fly into Fort Lauderdale. I will track you down.
All right. Okay.
Maybe that was his evil plan this whole time. He's like, haha, now they're going to have to come over here.
So on that note, have TARDIS will travel, and if you listen to us this weekend, or it'll be on a podcast forum next week, the final show with John Davey and all of us, and we will talk to you soon in some form or another later on this year, hopefully, here on MarkWHO42, the Doctor Who radio show. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Hurry back. Hurry back.
MarkWHO42 has been written and presented by Mark Baumgarten, Iggy Matthews, Zion Kiros, and Trish Fryer. This episode was edited, directed, and produced by Mark Baumgarten. Visit MarkWHO42.net, where you can register and become part of the Whoniverse Army. We can be contacted by email at mark@MarkWHO42, subject line, ? You can have MarkWHO42 entertain at your next event or convention. Go to heroesonhand.com/MarkWHO42. Space Coast Comics is a free monthly magazine found in over 120 locations currently throughout Brevard County, parts of Osceola, Volusia, and Indian River County in Florida, and available in Chicago. Follow them on Facebook to learn more. Doctor Who and its properties are owned by the BBC, the British Broadcasting Corporation. MarkWHO42 is owned and copyrighted by Mark Baumgarten 2018.